how to communicate with a man who won't communicate. And I thought, this is a real thing, okay? This is a real thing. This is actually something, communication is really hard in marriage sometimes, and men maybe might not be as willing to be as vocal and talkative as us girls are.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, so glad you've joined us for A Better Us. Welcome to our home.
So it's been said that marriages either move toward communication, connection, and intimacy, or they move away from those things. They don't stand still for very long. And I think for the most part, we women, we get that.
Generally speaking, it's usually the guys who fail to get the memo on the importance of connection through communication, which I don't think is surprising news to our wives.
Well, it's not. The ladies of A Better Us recently had a conversation all about that when author Shaunti Feldhahn asked and answered the question, how do you communicate with a man who won't communicate? It was a good discussion.
I can't wait to hear that. And on the heels of that topic, Neil and Sharol Josephson will give us their wisdom on what they call 3 keys to resolving conflict. Because let's face it, lack of communication and conflict pretty much go hand in hand, right?
They absolutely do. As usual, our kitchen couples will have a lot to say about all of that.
It's going to be a great show, so stay with us.
Okay, Shaunti, this question comes on behalf of all the women out there. And we get this question a lot, and that is, why in the world does my husband just seem to shut down, or he gets angry and withdraws? It's that kind of silent male syndrome. What does a woman need to know about that? You've done tons of research on this, so I'm really curious.
Yeah, tons over the last 18 years. I think I'm now at interviewing and surveying something like 20,000 men. Over the years. And actually there is one very, very, very common denominator. And here's really the key, ladies, is to realize that your husband actually looks pretty strong and confident, and you may sort of think that's really how he feels about himself. There's actually a truth on the inside that's very different, where there's a lot of insecurity and self-doubt that you don't know is there. And what often that anger or withdrawing, what that signifies is that you've hit that raw nerve without realizing it, and certainly usually without intending to, and you've actually hurt his feelings. And it's usually stuff that we're like, what? Why would that hurt his feelings? And yet it's actually because statistically, this is not in 100% of cases, but this was somewhere about 75 to 85% of men, depending on which survey you're talking about, that there's actually deep down a different insecurity for most men than we have. We women kind of have this, am I lovable question, right? So that can be our nerve when we feel like that's been hit. For men, it's completely different. It's, am I able? And am I any good at what I do? And they're really longing to see how people feel about them in that area. And so when you come along behind him and put the dishes in the dishwasher the right way, and for you, it's just like you're trying to help, you're just kind of being efficient. For him, you have no idea that you're sending this message that, no, what you do isn't adequate, you failed. And it's painful because that is his vulnerability.
So it comes off as a message of inadequacy to the man.
There's actually something that the men said that I thought was really insightful as I was asking them this. And they said, look, there's kind of a next day rule, sort of like, and there's 2 parts to it. If there's something that he didn't do right, he missed the spot when he was clipping the hedges, or, the fiber cloth didn't get used properly or whatever. Ask yourself first, is it going to be so important the next day that it's worth hurting my husband's feelings today? Because that's kind of the calculus that you're making. You don't think of it that way, but that's kind of it. And sometimes it is. Like there's some things that are really important to me that really bug me, or that's really important with the kids or whatever. And it is actually important to mention it right then. And yeah, it'll sting a little bit, but it is important. But the second part of the next day rule, the guys all said, is that if you can mention it the next day, if it's not so crucial, let him be glad that he pleased you by cleaning the kitchen and took one thing off of your plate. And just say thank you, just appreciate it. And if there's something that's really bugging you, do it when he's out of the room. I know that sounds really patronizing, and truly, I'm just repeating what the men said. I'm just your tour guide. And if it is crucial to mention it, try to do it the next day when it's like, you know what, thanks so much for cleaning the kitchen. And you know what, I actually bought some tools. Would you mind if we use these instead? Because that actually helps with the bacteria or whatever. And normally, as long as a guy knows that what he's done is appreciated, that's what matters.
So, Shaunti, this is so helpful, but I got to be honest with you. In my relationship with Leslie, I feel like it's kind of reversed. I think I'm the one that kind of sends those messages to her in some way. Do you find that it's across the board, or is there a certain percentage that's that way?
No, I'm glad you asked that. No, we always found in all of our surveys that there's about, it sort of depends on the question and that kind of thing, but it's about 75% to 80% of men or women tend to respond certain ways. We always say, look, if 75% of men said one way, 25% didn't, right? Everybody's an individual. The key is to use this as a starting point. Does this explain something?
It's to get the conversation going between you and your own self-talk. What thinking about it. So helpful. Really appreciate it.
Well, it is Just Us Girls time again, and I am joined with the girls from A Better Us. We have Danielle, Diane, and Kara.
Hey.
All right. So, okay, it's a good thing our husbands aren't here because we're talking about them today.
Yes.
We're talking about our husbands, okay? I mean, really, who knew that our husbands have different insecurities than we do? I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard for me to think of my husband as having like all these insecurities and things. He's so strong, you know, he's my rock. I'm the one with the insecurities. But actually, he does. He does.
Well, I had to chuckle when I got the notes from Anne sent to me, and the title for this subject was "How to Communicate with a Man Who Won't Communicate." And I thought, this is a real thing, okay? This is a real thing. This is actually something. You know, communication is really hard in marriage sometimes, and men maybe might not be as willing to be as vocal and talkative as us girls are. But man, when Shaunti started talking, I thought, she is going, like, taking a sharp turn for me. Who knew that if we want our man to communicate more with us, it actually starts with us? And the more I do the show, girls, the more I realize if you want a better us, you need to start with you.
Yep.
And so I just thought, man, like you said, like the men have vulnerabilities that maybe we aren't aware of, and it's, am I able?
Yeah.
And so if Dan is already feeling negatively vulnerable, if I've criticized him and maybe didn't even know, then why then would he further want to become more vulnerable if he doesn't want to? And so we really, you know, she was interviewing the men. We need to listen up. Yeah. They are telling us that they will be more open, willing to open up to us if they are feeling more confident and capable and less coddled like a kid.
Right.
And that's, so we need to start with us.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny when you say like a kid. I've heard my husband say that before, right? When you say something, it's like, I'm not a child. And I'm like, I'm sorry, right?
Yeah.
So that's so true, like a kid, because sometimes we think we're talking to our children because we want things to happen a certain way and they don't do it. And
Diane, you make me feel so good that you're saying that, because
Absolutely.
I've done that too.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
we
guilty.
don't mean it.
No, don't mean
I
it
mean,
at
we're
all.
we're used to talking to our children or solving problems with the
Right.
children, and so we kind of take that mindset and just kind of shift a little bit. And there's our husband. We got to. But so you've done it too.
I've done it too. I'm guilty.
Thank you.
I am so guilty.
Yeah. And I love that she was talking about, like, even in the little things, they may struggle with the am I able? Like, we might think it's just a one-off comment we've made about loading the dishwasher or folding the laundry, and they might actually be struggling with, like, oh no, maybe I'm not able to do this. And that's why I'm just not going to do it, because it's not worth the fight that comes with doing it.
That's a good point.
And so then what I found that she really taught me was relationships over tasks. So she said, is this task more important today, doing it today, than it is hurting my husband's feelings?
That's right.
And I was like, oh, that's a good point. That was a great question to reflect on, because my relationship with my husband is more important than wiping down the counter correctly.
Yeah, she talked about that next day rule, which I took note.
I
thought,
love that.
Okay,
That was
duly
so good.
noted.
Yes.
Is this important to me right now, or can I just, sit with this and maybe reapproach tomorrow? And I bet you by tomorrow it's not even going to be a
That's
big
right.
deal.
Don't even be a thing.
And then no issue, we can move on.
Yeah. I've learned to try to praise my husband when he's trying to help me, right? Even when I'm thinking in my head, oh, that's terrible, right? It's not how I do it. But I'm like, oh, babe, thank you so much. I'm so glad you helped me do Like, I'm making the bed is my thing. Don't make a bed if you're not going to make it properly. And he'll try to make the bed and help me, thinking he's doing something. He's smiling and putting the pillows on all wrong. And I'm thinking, oh, that's wonderful, babe. Thank you so much for helping me. And I just walk out. I let it go.
The fact that he's willing.
Right,
is
exactly.
enough, right?
I'm
Yeah.
like, that is perfect. But when he's gone, I go back in and I just simply put the pillows the way I like the pillows.
Okay.
But I praise him in that moment.
Pillows
right?
on the bed. That's a thing with us.
That's the thing.
Ron, I mean, he counted once how many pillows we have on our
About how many
bed.
pillows we have.
And
yeah.
he counted 18 pillows. Now, I'm not talking about the kind you sleep on. I'm talking about the little
Right,
the
the
dainty
pillows,
things. And you put them here and you kind of make little things.
Exactly.
And, like, it's important.
Yeah.
And they have to look right. They have to be positioned properly.
Exactly.
But you know what? Just like that is important to us, there are other things that are important to our guys. So sometimes when we bring it back, like, this might not be a big deal for me to feel corrected.
Right. Yeah.
That, like, sure, help me out. How do you do this? But for a guy, it might be different.
That's right.
And so we need to listen to them again and go, okay, what's important for you might not be important for me.
them.
Yes. And that their insecurities are different than ours, and being sensitive to that.
Yeah.
And they're
Just like-
valid.
Yes.
And we don't have to know exactly what their insecurities are. We just need to kind of live by the idea that we are their biggest cheerleader.
I was about to say, we just need to boost them up.
Exactly.
We need to, it is important that as wives, we give our husbands that praise. They need that. They need that ego stroked a little bit sometimes, to make them feel like I'm the man.
We need to be their, like you said, cheerleader, but also their safe place more than we realize, I think.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's true.
Sometimes I'll just walk by my husband and say, "You are awesome. Do you know that? You are the man." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah. Can I see you in the other room?
All right, I'll take that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've heard it said that when someone feels appreciated, they will always go above and beyond.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we just have to make, we appreciate what they do. And it might not be perfect, but doesn't matter.
That's right.
And we have to make sure we're taking care of them.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
I
stuff.
agree.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe the guys should have been here, because then we could have boasted their
I know,
egos
right?
a little bit
Right.
too.
Give them a little praise.
Yeah. Well, girls, thanks for being here, and this has been fun.
Yes.
Yeah, you stay with us. There's more Better Us to come.
But what we discovered is that what we can't or won't talk about will shape our relationship. And the net result is less transparency, less honesty, less intimacy.
But here's some good news. We can learn to get better at conflict.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video.
Every couple we have ever met has conflict. It's really important to say that right off the top because some of us believe that conflict is a sure sign that we're a bad couple, or we've married the wrong person, or that we're not going to make it.
Right. The reality is that two individuals trying to build one life together will experience conflict. It's normal, it's natural, it's nothing to be afraid of. Research has shown that there's no significant correlation between conflict and divorce. Good to know, isn't it?
But that doesn't mean that we can ignore conflict in our marriage because the research goes on to say that there is a strong correlation between the habitual avoidance of conflict and divorce.
We were pretty good at avoiding conflict earlier in our marriage. Sometimes we were just chicken, but sometimes we honestly thought that it was better, it was kinder, it was more loving to just say nothing. But what we discovered is that what we can't or won't talk about will shape our relationship. And the net result is less transparency, less honesty, less intimacy.
But here's some good news. We can learn to get better at conflict, meaning conflict that's more helpful, conflict that's less hurtful, conflict that grows closeness rather than creating distance. Here are 3 things that are key to getting better at conflict. First of all, be clear about what you're actually fighting about. Can we name it? Could we write it down? You see, if we can't even articulate the issue, how can we begin to address it? I mean, if one of us thinks the issue's this and the other person thinks the issue's that, you're not even going to have the same fight. So naming the issue can really help us focus too. Have you ever started off talking about one issue and after 15 minutes you're talking about all kinds of stuff? It's happened to us, and it can help if we name the issue. Maybe even write it down, put it on the table.
Speaking of table, that's our second piece of wisdom for you. Get on the same side of the table. Our most destructive conflicts happen when we see ourselves as adversaries, kind of on the opposite ends of the table. Even if we've accurately named the issue, it's still sitting in there between us, separating us. But that changes when we physically or metaphorically come around the table to the same side. The issue is still there, but now we're looking at it together and not at the issue through each other. When we are adversaries, every conflict has to be a win and lose. But when you're on the same side of the table, seeing things the same way as the same team, you win and lose together.
Remember, we said right off the top that conflict is inevitable, but it's not inevitably destructive. When there's something between us, some source of conflict, it's like having a sore tooth. And the sooner we take care of it, the less pain and the less damage. When we don't take care of it, the decay is going to grow, it's going to hurt more, and the repair is going to be harder, longer, and more costly. So here's our third piece of conflict wisdom. When we do experience conflict, reduce the reaction time between when we first feel it and when we start to make it right. Let's not give each other the 3 days of the silent treatment, the cold shoulder. Let's be the first one to apologize. Be quick to ask for or give forgiveness.
So there you go. Be clear about the issue, get on the same side of the table, and reduce the reaction time. 3 ways to do conflict better.
We are back in the kitchen with our kitchen couples. We have Mike and Diane, and Eric and Kara.
Always a great time with these guys.
Absolutely. And these guys don't know anything about conflict. There is no conflict at all.
Well, listen, this is season 7 of A Better Us, and we've talked about conflict probably at least a couple times in each season. And there's a reason for that, because it is so common in marriage. Like, conflict is inevitable, but combat is optional, right?
That's good. That's
And
a good
so,
thing.
no matter how long you've been married, it's always something that we have to deal with and hopefully learn to get better at, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just putting yourself on the same side of the table, focusing on the issue in the middle. But for Karen and I specifically, we're one of those couples, rare, we never have conflicts, and so we actually don't know what you guys are talking about. And,
Okay, wait a second. Eric is our son. So, Kara, we happen to know that's not true. Okay. Because he's a wonderful human being, but he's not perfect.
Yeah, no, one of those, definitely one of those imperfections is just when Kara and I are in a discussion, when we're in a discussion, I know that when she's talking to me about her side, I'm already formulating and trying to think of what I want to say to prove my point, and I'm not letting her feel heard. And so that's something I have been trying to work on, because better communication, of course, is better for your marriage. But like when she feels heard by me, even if that causes a few extra seconds of awkward silence in the middle, it's better than not feeling heard in the conversation, right? And so,
and I think the importance is that we're having the conversation, because I thought it was very interesting that there's not a strong correlation between arguments and divorce. It's actually the habitual avoidance of conflict that there is a correlation with divorce.
Don't stop fighting.
Yeah.
Don't stop arguing.
Yeah. I heard that it's not when they're the loudest that you should be the most concerned in your marriage. It's actually when they're the most quietest that you should be concerned.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because then you don't know where they're at. But if they're fighting, you'll hear them and you'll know.
It means you're still trying.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Mean still trying.
It's important to listen with the intent to understand, not with the intent to respond. And my husband likes to say that we're on the same team. When I tear you down, I'm tearing myself down.
That's right.
But when I build you up, I'm building me up. I'm building us up. So that's just very important to remember and to understand as you have your conversation. To remember that you're on the same team. You're partners. You're in this together.
That's it.
Yeah.
And not only can we get better at conflict, but healthy conflict makes us better. Right? And so it's really important to say, like, opposites attract, right? So we know that, right? Opposites attract. She's musician, very much in the arts, and I'm a sports guy, right? So there are going to be differences of opinion there. It's very natural. I mean, those are kind of two things, but there's a whole list of things that make us attracted to each other, right? And consistent with that, then it is a very natural thing not to agree all the time. Yes. And so let's normalize this thing. Like if we don't, but so and then as we normalize it, let's make it reasonable to kind of have conversation about this, and so that conversation doesn't seem awkward, right? Because we're not supposed to, agree all the time.
Exactly. I like that. Make it normal that you're not going to agree all the time, and don't be shocked or upset when you discover that you disagree. That's and take that a step further. When you have kids, you're actually modeling for your kids how to work through disagreements.
That's it.
Because they're going to marry someone different from them, and they need to know how to do that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Neil and Sharol, one of the things that they said was, be clear about what you're fighting about. First of all, let me back up and say that when we say fight, actually, Les and Leslie Parrott, doctors Les and Leslie Parrott, who are regular contributors as experts, one of their books, the classic, is called The Good Fight. Okay, it's all about fighting in marriage, but there's a good way to do it. But the one thing Neil and Sharol said was be clear about what you're fighting about. That sometimes the issue appears to be a surface issue. You think you know what it's about, but there's something below the surface. That's the real trigger. That sometimes you need to just ask some clarifying questions, like, so why is this an issue? Why are you really feeling that way? Is there something? And you can dig a little deeper, and maybe you could discover something.
Yeah,
new.
You know what? With us early in our marriage, I was very tense while Ron would drive the car.
Okay, so I'd be driving down the road.
You're like, I need to take over.
I think I'm a safe driver, and it's a two-way highway, like we have not far from our house here. It's usually a long drive to get to where we're going. And so I like to pass, you know, to get around some slow vehicles. But that's when she starts getting upset and tense. No, and don't.
Sounds familiar?
And and then, but then it starts bugging me. I'm thinking, okay, here, don't you trust me? No, what's the deal?
Believe in my driving ability, please.
Yeah,
I can do this.
And so we'd get into some conflict.
So familiar.
But you know what? So we had like that's a surface thing, but we had to dig under the surface, and we discovered that it actually goes back to when I was a little girl. My dad actually saw driving the car as this challenge. And he should have been a race car driver, I am convinced, because he lived for speeding, for cutting it close,
a little adrenaline rush,
for weaving around on those two-way roads. He would see a car coming, he said, I can do it, and he would get over, and in that lane they're coming, and it gets over really fast. And nobody could say a peep. You know, you just have to and I'm squeezing my hands.
I think we all have a little bit of that in us. Though. Like when I type in the destination on the GPS, it says, here's your arrival time. I always turn to Kara. I can beat that. I can beat that.
So Kara and Diane, you are my people.
Yeah.
You understand.
I totally understand.
Yes. So once we dug beneath the surface and realized that, then we can decide, okay, honey, I do trust you. Okay, yes.
So we do need to take those steps. Those are some good keys. You can go back and watch this again, and you can write down those 3 points from Neil and Sharol. And resolving conflict, so important in marriage, and do it well.
And remember to focus on the issue and not the person.
That's it.
Right.
Focus on the issue and not the person.
And when you focus on the person, you're doing it together. Being on the
same team. Same team. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff for you and your marriage. But don't go anywhere, because there's more and better us to come.
For more marriage encouragement, follow A Better Us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And subscribe for your free weekly Marriage Moment email at abetterus.tv. Today's program hit on a couple of hot topics: communication and conflict, which, not surprisingly, can go hand in hand.
If we're not communicating clearly, we're probably going to have conflict. But deliberately keeping those lines open is imperative to strengthening your emotional bond as a couple.
The truth is, communicating, sharing your thoughts and needs and desires can come so easily to some people and not so much to others. It doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong, just that one might have to work a little harder to keep that emotional connection strong.
And that isn't easy, but it's so worth it. And it's important to understand that there's another vital connection, one that will have the greatest positive impact on your marriage. And it's actually the one we should hold as our top priority. And that's our own personal relationship with God.
And the way to do that is simply to invite Him into your life. When you truly open up to God, He will give you all of the grace and wisdom and power you need, and every relationship in your life will benefit.
The phone number on the screen is our prayer line. And if you'd like to talk with someone about this and receive prayer, just give us a call. It's available 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. I know you'll be glad you did.
Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe